So let's go back to early days in Canada, because I really want to understand your journey, because it's if possible, let's replicate it, right? Like, what are the steps that you did? Because it's impressive. It's one of those things. It's like, it's almost like winning the lottery in a way. But you did it, and now I see why. But okay, let's go. You come to Canada, everything is new. Of course, expectations might be different from reality. Did you face any challenges with languages, with your validation of your credentials, like networking? Like, yeah, tell me more about that.
100%. I've listened to most of your podcast, and I like especially what you discussed with Gabriela Gutierrez and also Maria.
Yes.
But the one that got me to know your show was the one you did with Sabina Michael. Okay.
Right.
And I'm gonna just use the opportunity to show you a book that I wrote. Right. It's
Yeah.
called the American Dream. It's about my story, all the things that I went through growing up, right? I know most of us relate to the way we grow up regarding, hey, we didn't have a lot. We want to go to school, be successful, work for a good company, and so on and so forth. I tell my story here,
Amazing.
and I talk about Sabina here as well. And when I got to Canada, I didn't speak the language. Okay, um, and
Wow,
to me
that's even more impressive.
that was crazy
Wow.
because I knew I had to do it. I knew it was a prerequisite. It was something that needed to happen. I know it was going to happen. The key word to me is how fast can I do it?
Hmm.
So, as I said, I got into Canada as a refugee. I got the opportunity to. That's why I'm in love with Canada. Is to me that's home. People ask me, "Where are you from?" People expect, because of my accent, the way I look, they expect me to say Colombia or somewhere in South America. But say no, my home is I'm from Toronto. People look at me. Okay, I was born in Colombia. I grew up. I love my country. That's I'm not saying
Right.
otherwise. But when people ask me where are you from, I'm from Toronto. I embrace the culture. I embrace the people. I embrace the system that helped me a lot, and that's wonderful. So when I got to the country, I got the opportunity to, and I was blessed to be in welfare, right? I'm no shy to say that. I didn't take advantage of that. That needs to be clear. So part of what I did was I went to school from 9 to 3 o'clock. There was a full-time program in Christie for people who migrated to Houston to Toronto back in early 2000s. They would probably know what I'm talking about. It
Hmm.
was an organization that helped with ESL classes, right? So I was there full time, 9 o'clock to 3. And right at 5, there was another program that I signed up for that it was a part-time program in Costi. That was the name of the organization. And I hope that is still around. And
Yep.
there, so during the day, I studied grammar, um, and I study the structure of the language and so on and so forth. And the courses in the afternoon were for pronunciation, right? And how can I become fluent? Long story short, I did that for 6 months intensively, right? Stayed in downtown, finished my full time, went part time to the other classes, and started to pick up the language within 6 months. I wouldn't say I was 100% fluent, but I was able to make myself understood and communicate with other people in 6 months. And I'm very proud to say that. And it is possible to learn the language that fast. It is possible. To put this into perspective, I was almost 24 years old when that happened. And then that's when I started networking, to your point, and I know you talk about this in your podcast with other newcomers. Some people sign up for a program called Career Bridge, and I got to Career Bridge through Sabina, who was working for Access Employment. And I know she talks about this in her episode. So if you haven't heard or listened to that podcast, I encourage
She's
everyone to
amazing.
listen to that podcast.
Yeah.
And that got me into the program. They matched me with a mentor, and with that mentor, I ended up working quote unquote for free in his organization because they matched me with a person who had a professional who had the same background that as I had in industrial engineering. So I did an internship there for 3, 4 months. And then once I started putting that in my resume, organizations started to see that I'm being employed in Canada. So I got that Canadian experience that was required. And from there, I started to my career took off. Started working for different organizations and be where I am right now, Miguel.
Oh wow. No, that's incredible. And you're so right. Like the story with Sabina is also super good because that program became later on Business Age, and I took that program, and that program changed also my life. So yeah, I can only speak high praises to for Sabina for that program for the entire team and your journey. Now that I know a little bit more about it, it's like I'm still like in shock because no English, no connections, completely from scratch, and now where you are today. And you wrote a book, which has also here in my notes. That is like I wanted to know more about it. Like how did that happen? But like let's before we jump there, it's how did you land your first professional job? Because usually newcomers like myself, you get trapped within. You need
Mhm.
to pay the bills. There is you need to find something just to pay the bills in the meantime, because finding that job might take a little bit of time. And what was your experience, and how did you land that first job?
That's a great question. And the way I would answer that question is I wasn't focused on the money, right? I was looking for an opportunity. And and when I got into the program with Career Bridge, there was multiple things that I could have done that would have paid more to what I was being paid. Or basically, I wasn't being paid anything, just for tickets to go and get within the TTC and move within the city. But it was lifting my hand, being humble, right, and being able to provide that value to the organization, right. Um, I know that it wasn't easy for the mentor that I had to spend time with me, right? And guide me, educate me. When I started doing that again, I wasn't 100% fluent in the language, but it's just knowing that I was worth something
Yeah,
and that one person was going to see that worth and use it to benefit the organization that I started working for and obviously benefit myself as well, right? Is networking was a key part. I know LinkedIn wasn't back then, uh, and it was knocking on doors, talking to people. I talk about showing up and no hiding is showing your face, right? We
right.
we have so much to give as people, as professionals, and we shouldn't be afraid of just just showing up and say I can do it, let's do it, let's get it done. Forget about the title, forget about the money. Let me be part of it, and something will grow after that. It's like putting a seed into a pot, right, and start putting water into
Exactly.
it. It's just gonna flourish.
You're so right. And two things came to mind. The first one is a trap that I always see within e-commerce, and I experienced it myself. I was working in survival jobs in construction, and then I started making maybe $20 an hour, and then 30, and then 40, and then it's like, oh, now it's 60 an hour. So it's like, oh wow, this is good money, right? But of course, the risk is higher. I was like doing a lot of things, and I was meeting people that they also had masters in finance and they had all of this, and they will tell me, I will tell them, it's like, hey, why don't you go and work for a bank? It's like, why don't you start from scratch? No, like as a tailor, it's like, well, a tailor earns like what, $17 an hour. So it's like I cannot pay my bills with $17 an hour. I cannot even start there. So, and they will not hire them to the level that they have because, of course, many variables. But it's like that is a trap that happens so much
That's right.
because it sometimes is like, hey, this is what happens, and yeah, you got it. Like,
It's,
it's
it's spot on, Miguel. Spot on, spot on. And I mentioned something like that on the book because I remember uh, part of my foundation, Miguel, is I'm a believer, right? I believe in God and in Jesus Christ. And I was in a church event. Um, this this discussion is bringing a lot of memories, Miguel. So bear with me
I
while
love
I
that.
go back and remember my story, and because it moves me, to be honest with you. And we were in an event at church, right? And I was friend with a guy, a very good person. We play soccer together in Toronto, and he introduced me to his dad that went to the event. And the three of us were talking, and my friend went to grab a hot dog, and I stayed with his dad. And he said, "Okay, what are you doing for a living?" And I just, okay, I'm an engineer. Just came uh, uh, from Colombia. I tried to stay in the U.S., but I'm now in Canada, and I'm just trying to learn the language, validate my studies. I was so energetic just to share my story, and I'm going to English classes in the afternoon, in the morning. I got a contact on this program called Career Bridge, and said, wait. He says to me, wait. Why are you doing that? I was like, excuse me, yes, why are you wasting your time doing that? You have to start working and supporting yourself and your family. It was like I was shocked, and he was telling me all this why I shouldn't be doing that, and he got to a point where he says I have I run my own company. I I have contract with multiple buildings and commercial spaces where I paint and do construction, and I have
Right.
he said to me, and he was very proud of saying this, I never went to school, but I have lawyers, I have doctors, and I have architects, I have engineers working for me now. And you should be doing something like that because they're making money now. That 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 was like somebody grab a bat and hit me right in the face. That made me question myself for not for a long time, but for a few minutes. I was speechless. My friend came and we started talking about something else, but I was quiet the rest of the afternoon. And that gave me more motivation to do what I had to do,
I love
right?
that.
And it goes back to the trap that you were talking about. I've done it, Miguel, you've done it. I heard the story from Maria. I heard the story from Gabriela. Sabrina can talk about this, how many people she has impacted. If we've done it, anyone can do it.
Exactly, and
It's,
that's
it's as
exactly the
sim-
purpose.
it's as simple as that. Is a proven method. Uh, People listening, they may questioning themselves. Yes, you can do it. If you're listening to me, just do it. Yes, you can do it.
Yeah, I love that. Another part that you touched and you said, which was also super important, is about being valuable. So usually what happens after, being here for a while, zero success in job applications, 6 months, 8 months, a year, 2 years, survival jobs, a lot of people lose their confidence. So I have two questions, one comment and one question. You mentioned that we all are very valuable and we have so much to give. And when I'm coaching and mentoring newcomers, it's quite common that they say, it's like I don't have anything. Like I'm meeting with this executive, and what should I give? Well, like what can I provide to the meeting? Like, yeah, like questioning themselves and second guessing is like if they have anything to offer because they are just new to the country, no connections, no nothing. No? And I always say it exactly as you mentioned. It's like you are so valuable. There is no one in this world with your experience, your vision, your values, your principles, everything. And you're so right. Like there is so much value. So that's like comment number one. And my question to you is like, how do you keep so positive and your mental health so healthy? Like you're confident because usually I took a hit and it took me probably like 4 or 5 years to recover from that too, because it was like my confidence crashed completely. I was devastated, frustrated, angry, sad, you name it. And the same cycle keep repeating because of course, I was so proud, not asking for help. I can do it by
Hmm.
myself. Being like a turtle, just like taking it in. So, yeah, I'm just curious to know how you did it.
It's not easy. You could probably see me smiling, but like everything, right? I have my ups and downs, right? And I'm gonna give you this analogy, and this helps me too, right? I hope people can benefit from this way of thinking. Think of a balloon, and by the way, I am very spiritual. As I said, my faith keeps me motivated, right? That's one thing. I'm not gonna deny that, and I'm not gonna make this any religion statement or anything like that. It's my faith helps me a lot, right? And my family. But going back to my analogy, think of a balloon, right? The uh, the nature of the balloon, if you put it up high, is to go down to the floor. That's like your energy, your motivation, your inspiration. But you need to start bumping it all the time so it can stay up because by nature it's just gonna come down. That's the way things are, right? It's like gravity, it's gonna drag you down. So I developed a concept. You may find this funny. I call it apps. So follow the apps, and it's
Yeah.
APP. Okay, and I have a talk that I developed when I was working for Oil and Gas. Uh, we had a I was part of the employee resource group. I know you and I talk about
Yeah.
this. And Latinx, I was a co-lead for Latinx, and we had a series of talks that help people also be engaged within the organization. And so I developed a talk about inspiring one another. That was the theme of the talk. So I came up with this concept, and I call it APP. So something to keep me motivated, smiling, energized is when you think about the app, A stands for activity,
Mhm.
P for person, and the second P for a place. So
Okay.
if I go back to the balloon, just to keep it up high, so there is always an activity, a person, or a place that will keep you motivated. Like to me, an activity. I like to read and I like to play soccer, right? So when I feel down, I know it's time to me to go outside and kick the ball with people that I may know or may don't know. That helps me a lot. Or the other activity that I like to do as part of the A is listen to podcasts, right? So that is my way to keep that balloon up, right? That's the way I'm pumping it to keep it up high. That's the activity part of it. The person, right? The P of the app, the person. Think of a person that get you inspired, right? So there are a couple of people within my inner circle that I think of. My mother, for instance, my grandfather, right? They did so much when I was growing up that when I think of them, it gives me the energy back, right? Like my children, my crazy wife, and so on and so forth, right? So that's I think of a person based on the circumstance that I'm dealing with, and that again try to keep the balloon up, and then the place, right? Uh, Church, I go to church, and that helps me a lot, or you name it, a different place that may help you get the motivation that you need, right? Just go and do it. So follow the app, right? The activity relate to a person or a place to keep you energized, motivated, and keep and pushing on.
Oh, I love that. Oh, this is a perfect tool. And the analogy makes so much sense because you're so right. It tends to go down. And if you allow the distractions of the world and everything that is trying just to push you down, of course it's going to go down the balloon. And yeah, in my mind, I had a different analogy. It was more like a fire. When you go to camping, there is a fire, and you take out a log. Eventually, that log is going to die because
Hmm.
it's not part of the collective. So in my mind, it's also like being the community component of like how it keeps you motivated and helps you. So I agree. So your analogy is spot on.